that the artist villa that I'm seeing on my screen?
The beautiful Atlantic Center of the Arts.
Ooh la la. What is the weather like there today?
78 degrees, bit of wind.
Sounds perfect. It is howling wind here in Southern California.
Is it?
Big
I, f- I've,
windstorm.
I've got to say, remember we were talking on Noble Rot about the difference between like if you're watching your choices of what you watch, whether it's high art or trash TV, and how that
Yes,
kind of informs your outlook on life. I feel elevated just by being at the Atlantic Center for the Arts.
as you should. Walking down those wooden paths through the marshy, whatever it's called. What do they call that kind of topography?
Wetlands, maybe?
Oh, okay. Nice.
Marsh?
Yeah.
But you really do, it reminds you to surround yourself with beautiful things or surround yourself with the things that you want to kind of manifest in your life because it really does make you feel elevated. You feel smarter, you feel kind of stand a little taller with your shoulders back, better posture, you know?
When is the actual festival? Is it tomorrow or is it tonight
Two
and tomorrow?
nights,
Tonight
tonight
and
and
tomorrow.
different programming for each night. But yeah, different films, different entertainment, stuff like that. But it's tonight and tomorrow night.
Are you grabbing any interesting voice to podcast alongside or with?
I'm probably going to. I wasn't sure how our social obligations would pan out, like if I had other things that I had to do, but it looks like tomorrow I've got a gap in the day. So perhaps Tom Curren, perhaps Alan Sarlo.
Ooh, man, if you could get a Tom Curren, the
So,
people would really like it.
or I mean, honestly, they would love the idea of it, but Curren doesn't exactly deliver compelling interviews.
That's true. That's a fact.
So we'll see. But the story is, for those who don't know, the Florida Surf Film Festival is where I am at right now. These are friends of ours that we've, partnered with. We're Chaz and I are both on the jury. We rate and review films for them each year, and then they host screenings 4 times a year. And this is one of those. So came out to support it and be a part of it. But Curran was the draw for me. I've opted not to come in recent years, mainly because COVID first, and then we had a kid, and so I just didn't want to be away from home. But now that he's 3, and now that Curran is here, all the stars aligned. So I actually flew out from LA with Jamie Brisick and Alan Sarlo, and then I'm chauffeuring them around. So it's the 3 of us, and then Curran and his family are here staying on the property as well. And we got to have dinner with them last night, hang out all together. So it's been pretty cool.
Was Curren in a talkative mood?
Dude, I had one of the better experiences of my podcast life last night.
What was it?
We enter Kevin's condo. Everybody's milling around. Curran's with his family, sitting down, chatting with another couple of people. So I'm hanging out in the kitchen with, people I know. And after 45 minutes or so, Curran walks up I'm like having a conversation. He walks up and kind of inserts himself to make his presence known. I turn and look at him. He goes, "Hey, we haven't met yet. I just wanted to introduce myself." And I
Boom.
was I was like, does this means one of two things. Either Tom Curran knows who I am, which is the fantasy world that I want to live in, or B, he's that nice of a guy to where he goes around at a mixed group thing and just introduces himself to everybody.
Could be, or I mean, he could be a listener.
Exactly.
Tom Curran might be calling in with stories of Currens in the wild. He might be busily typing in. Every one of those submissions just came from him.
And it is possible that people have said there's a thing that they do called Curran, Pros in the Wild, and you're the guy that they talk about all the time. So maybe they said, I have no idea, but I'm going to get to the bottom of it by the end of the weekend.
Great. I can't wait for clarity there because I feel this is essential. I mean, the great thing is this is a rare win-win. Either one is a win, right? I mean, the fact that if Curran was a listener and knew who you were and all that, that's like the greater win. But Curran being so polite that he introduces himself to strangers in which is just a gentleman. Like that's the gentlemanly thing to do. It's not like he's on the street and having to introduce himself to randoms. But if you're at a house party, you should by protocol make the rounds at least and introduce
Even
yourself.
even if you're not a known, quote celebrity, that would be a really, really cool thing to do. But I think he's may be doing it just because he knows we all know who he is, and maybe we would be uncomfortable approaching him. So maybe he's breaking the ice and just doing that, knowing he doesn't know who I am. He knows I know who he is,
Yeah,
which would be cool.
Genius.
But he's so nonplussed.
Yeah.
Like I was realizing, so we started chatting about whatever, and I was like, I've never seen him excited
Yeah.
ever. Like he just kind of meanders around life. He keeps the same monotone, like, he doesn't seem bummed ever. I've never seen him excited.
One of the, and funny, I guess, in context, or when you get more context, Curren now at how old is he? 60, low 60s,
Sure.
upper
Yeah.
50s.
Yeah.
Did you, of course, you watched the film Tom and I, a
Yeah.
brilliant film that's screening at the Florida Surf Film Festival. Wonderful film, but all the footage of Tom, competing as a youth and all this kind of stuff, like the historical footage in the film, you see Tom has always been that way. You never see him get out
Right.
of the water and fist pump after his Huntington hop or whatever. He would just like, every shot of him is kind of the same, like him just cruising up the beach in a singlet, like walking at the same pace.
Coming out of a 8 or 12 foot barrel at back door, just does his little dainty cutback and kicks
Yeah.
out. There's no claim really. That session that they show in the film of him surfing that triple overhead typhoon point in Japan
Yes.
was heroic. And then he just gets out and
Absolutely
he's
heroic.
cruising. Kelly Slater shows up, a young 20-year-old Kelly Slater, doesn't even paddle out, shows up, pulls out a camera and a tripod and just starts filming Tom because
Yeah.
that's how big and sketchy it was.
Man, that movie, I'll tell you what, the slate of documentaries this year was too good. It was impossible to pick a winner, even though
Totally
that was
agree.
our duty and our job. But between Westerly Wendina, Life and Death, Water Brother, and Tom and I, and I think there was a couple other docos in there, but
Yeah.
those three were like, each could have won.
I know. You feel bad picking the winner, kind of.
Yeah, I sat there, but there was a clear winner for me, so I didn't feel that bad, but they were all brilliant.
What did you pick?
I just don't know how you can't not pick Westerly after seeing it.
I think I picked Water Brother.
Real. I mean, like I love Sid obviously better than Westerly, and I love that movie so much. I've talked non-stop about Water Brother. I love it so much. I'm going again tonight to see it up in Laguna Beach. Come one, come all to the, I don't even know what it's called, something surf film.
The Rivian Theater.
It's in the Rivian Theater in Laguna tonight. Water Brother, come. Anyhow, love Water Brother, but I couldn't believe the filmmaking and following the story of Westerly, both the care that Jamie Brisick took in telling that story, the way he told it, because it could have been salacious. It could have been, it could have been one of many things. He told it so sensitively, and it's such a compelling story that he made more compelling by being thoughtful with the subject matter, not just letting the splash of, we probably got a crazy dude who had a sex change and then went back, and he was a big pro surfer with this great, colorful past. Like,
Right.
let's just put it on blast. But the subtleness of the film, I thought, that's why I gave it the award. I thought that was masterful filmmaking.
Like I said, can't really pick a winner.
Yeah. I wonder which will win though. I think that'll be a true surprise in the room when they announce who wins the best feature documentary for 2024. I have no idea.
I think Westerly may win just because I think most of us had already seen Water Brother. So Westerly is fresher in our mind. So when you then look at the voting, it's like that plays a role.
I don't know. I just think that it was a more complete film. Again, I like the Sid story better as a, feel good, love Sid. Can't get enough of Sid. But just the Jamie Brisick, and who was his partner on that film?
Maybe Alan White.
Yeah. They had a lot harder job to do, and I thought did it magnificently.
Well, the other thing I was thinking about, hanging with the boys, with Brisick and Sarlo in the car this trip, is for any of our listeners who are just normal surfers who don't get to hang out with surf celebrities, and you ever wonder what hanging out with a surf celebrity is like, it's exactly like you would imagine it. Those guys are just telling stories nonstop. Like Sarlo's history is, wild. Like, grew up with the Dogtown Boys, spent his whole life in Malibu. Like, so he's been through a ton of it. So anything from explaining the intricacies of Third Point Malibu before it was ruined, he could talk ad nauseum about that because he's passionate about it, to growing up with Jay Adams, and
Yeah.
Jay Adams kind of wild stories. And just, it's non-stop. I'm just sitting there gobbling it up. It's fascinating.
Speaking of Jamie Brisick, uh, have you seen Ali Wong's latest stand-up special on Netflix?
No, but I do like her.
So Ali Wong, for the listener who doesn't know, stand-up comedian. She is like, I think, how would you describe her? I mean, her comedy, she's like a petite, like 5 foot. Did you know she's Vietnamese? I always thought she was Chinese. She's Vietnamese, apparently, or identifies as Vietnamese. Uh, Woman who just spews filth out of her mouth, sexual filth, like, but funny, right? Yeah. So in her latest special, wife was watching it in the kitchen while preparing dinner last night. I come downstairs and I hear talking about she's, talking about her hookups because now she's single. I don't know if she's single anymore, but she's talking about her hookups, and she hooked up with a 55-year-old ex-professional surfer. She goes into great detail. He shows up. He's actually 60. He's not 55. He apologizes, but she continues that, and she describes whatever they did. But we've got to figure out who this is. She was very clear. He was an ex-professional surfer, 55, 60. How old is Brisick?
Not that old.
He's not, is he? He's too young. I was really hoping it was Briss.
No, he's got to be 55-ish, but he's not 60.
He's not 60. And this surfer clearly apologized. I guess it was on one of the fancy dating apps. And so he apologized, or in her stand-up, she said he apologized for misleading her. He didn't mean to. He claimed he accidentally put his birth date in wrong and didn't want to, he would lose his account if he tried to fix it or something like that. Anyway, though, so there is a 60-year-old ex-professional surfer out there that is a major part in the middle of Ali Wong's stand-up thing. We've got one listener. Somebody has to know who this is.
And does she live in the LA area?
She's LA area. So you're assuming Malibu-ish. She said he had like crazy blue eyes. I mean, I just kept thinking Laird, but it can't be Laird.
This is enough information to figure it out, though. And I will absolutely, in my quest to find out if Tom Curren knows who I am, I'm going to sideline that. Actually, I'm going to focus on that for the next 24, 48 hours.
And then on
Monday, I'll get back to this and we'll have a result by next week.
I mean, maybe this can be the entire Noble Rot discussion, is just going through the archives, going surfer by surfer to figure out 60-year-old, and I'll send you the timestamp of when she talks about it if you want to go detective work some more in there. Or listener, we should put it on the show notes, because happy for the extra hands and the extra eyes and extra ears and sorting out who this 60-year-old professional surfer with really blue eyes is.
This is perfect. This dovetails beautifully with the outline for today's show, because this is the first official episode where surfing melds with mainstream. We have John Florence doing deals with Ford. We have Caroline Marks in Sports Illustrated again. We have Mark Zuckerberg and the Royals now surfing. Everything converges here on the grid today.
It's perfect. And what better time?
Never a better time. So this email came in and said, I'm listening to the most recent episode of The Grit, and an idea popped in my head after listening to the Pro in the Wild story about the Muay Thai champ in the water. What about celebs in the wild, or more like celebs who rip? My buddy once told me a story about hiking into a remote Northern California spot that requires an all-day hike. He was camping and surfing for a few days, and it's super cold and rugged, and you got to bring either a gun or at least bear spray, as there are wild bears often on the beach. He hikes in with a friend, and after a long, grueling day, he arrives at the wave, and there's only one other guy who happens to be camping there with his girlfriend. Lo and behold, it was Chris Isaak. And this was in the early 90s, at the peak of Isaac's fame as nation's heartthrob, after the video of him rolling around in the sand with a hot chick. And my buddy said that it was super cool and he actually surfed good. What a legend. I bet there's a bunch of great stories out there about celebrity surfing. I heard Daniel Tosh, the comedian, is a decent surfer. That Kelsey Grammer interview talking about the feeling of surfing made him feel enlightened is really good. Could be a cool spin-off segment. That's it. Work. Aloha, Aaron.
Love it. Thank you so much. Couple notes on that. Chris Isaak, I went and saw at the uh Santa Barbara Bowl, like
Great venue.
right peak-ish of his fame. It was one of the best shows. I was no huge Chris Isaak music fan. It was one of the best shows I'd ever been to in my life. He is such, if you get a chance to go see Chris Isaak perform live, I mean, if he was anything like he was 20 years ago or whatever, he is such a showman. It was like a show, and it wasn't a show with like fireworks behind him and stuff. It was him between songs, like perfectly riffing on the mic, being very funny, very, it was, yeah, but never ridiculous, but really self-effacing. Like the whole thing was just like at the end you say, wow, that man is a performer.
I would not have guessed that.
No, it was epic. I didn't have any idea. I don't know why I went, but it was afterwards. I was like, Chris Isaak is in my top 10 favorite artists based purely on his ability to perform. Thing one. Thing two, I like the idea of surf celebs in the wild, but at the outset, we need to ban a couple stories. The Hemsworths banned, not because they don't deserve our love, but I know they rip already, right? I don't need to hear stories about Luke or Chris Hemsworth surfing well with Paul Fisher. We've got it. We know that. Like the joy of the pro in the wild, and now this celeb surfer in the wild, is a little surprise factor. And so if it is someone like Chris Isaak, I was not expecting to be on that rugged beach right there.
Yeah.
Chris and Luke, I'm expecting to be everywhere getting barreled. So, and is there any other like real obvious celebrities who surf and we know rip?
Um, the knowing that Rip is the big question mark. Like we know Edward Norton surfs, Lewis Hamilton, apparently Prince Harry, apparently
Yeah.
Ivanka Trump, Doja Cat now, but none of them rip. So
Yeah.
it would be like this. You're padding out in a rugged. The only way to get there is to show some grit, and then you're
Yes.
there, and he happens. This is very different than being in the Hamptons, and
Yes.
seeing Ivanka get pushed in.
Yeah.
So here's my question though, too, about any of those celebrities. Do they rip? And secondly, do they know who Tom Curren is?
I'm gonna say, other than the Hemsworths, I'm gonna say Chris Isaak for sure knows
Yeah,
Tom Curren, because I feel Chris Isaak is from that Santa Barbara area-ish
I
somehow.
don't know. But
I don't
he's
know.
invested enough in surfing clearly that he would be a fan enough to know who Tom Curren is. Where, like, Doja Cat definitely doesn't know who Tom Curren is.
Definitely doesn't. I would say you really stumbled right on it. I would say if you're a casual surfer or a celebrity surfer and you know who Tom Curren is, then you get to be a surfer. If you don't know who Tom Curren is, then you are not allowed to call yourself a surfer.
Does Matthew McConaughey know?
For sure. Oh,
See, that's right on the fence.
man, I have no idea. I gotta into old Matty McConaughey. I'll get to the bottom of this one.
Yeah. I know he knows who John Florence is.
Jonah Hill for sure knows who Tom Curren is.
Yeah, I think that's established. That's accepted at this point. Well, in other news, in bald news, I cannot believe Beach Grit did not pick up this story. But are you familiar with Lad Bible?
Yes.
Lad Bible ranked the top 10 sexiest bald men, and our Kelly Slater hit the list.
Ooh, at what number?
Well, do you want to guess?
I'm gonna say he's number 4.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
How did you do that? You had a
I
1
was
in
just
10
I was
chance.
trying to picture I was trying to picture honestly, not rudely like I sometimes do with Kelly. I was trying to picture bald celebrities out there right now. And the only one I had in my mind was Billy Zane, circa whenever which was a long time ago, but I thought Kelly's like 4 rungs below that.
Billy Zane might be on the list next year because I think he's starring in a biopic about Marlon Brando. He plays
Oh,
Marlon
great.
Brando.
Perfect. Let's hope. Make Billy bald again.
Bring Billy back. So number 10 on the list, Vin Diesel. Number 9, Stanley Tucci. Number 8, Thierry Henry, who's a French football
Yep.
Coach. Number 7, Samuel Jackson. Number 6, Danny DeVito. Number 5, Terry Crews. Number 4, Kelly Slater. Number 3, Shaq. Number 2, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Number 1, Prince William for the third time.
Ooh, Prince William. I mean, all the rest of that list feels like they're properly Bicket, or like 90% of that list takes the razor to the head. Prince William and his dedication to the cul-de-sac should well be commended.
Yeah, but my problem with his is it's not just the cul-de-sac. He lets the
The
thin
wisps.
fur grow, the
Yeah.
wisps that in the actual cul-de-sac that shouldn't be there. Like that's what he's got to bick.
But oh man, yeah, that's a tough one though. Because
It's
if you're
not a good
going,
look.
it's not a good look, but also I would imagine if you're going the cul-de-sac, part of the joy of going the cul-de-sac is not to take a razor to your bald head. And so you're just like saying, hey, that's not my thing, man. Because once you take the razor out, you're probably accidentally going to shave the
Well,
crowning glory as well.
then just get, manscaped uh lawnmower or whatever and just trim it all up without the straight razor.
Wisps. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Dude, what do you feel about Prince William's embrace of the beard to go along with his
I
he's
guess I don't know if I've seen it, to be
he's
honest.
got a beard now. It's like
Okay.
a not a big bushy beard. It's like a manscaped beard.
Well, I think I would like it. I'm trying to envision it. I think I would like it for him. The funny thing about Slater, and this ties into my theme of surfing going mainstream, is the image that they used on Instagram to advertise this was of him golfing.
Yeah.
So it's like presuming that random swipers of and followers of Lad Bible know that who Kelly Slater is and can identify him not on a surfboard.
That's a great point. That is a great point. And man, I've been wondering about this for a while with old Kelly because I've always felt that a lot less of the public knows who he is than we surfers think. That Kelly could walk into a room somewhere and 10 people would know him, but 40 wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm probably wrong.
Yeah. Well, in other lists of ranking people as the best at what they do, quote, the century's best surf journalists are identified by, it looks like Elon Musk's artificial intel Grok identified this century's best surf journalist. Did you cry yourself to sleep that night that you read this article on Beach Grit?
I certainly did. I had hoped that, I mean, my only hope is for next century. My only hope is to live as long as Dick Van Dyke and hit Grok back, and maybe rise. But I couldn't disagree that Sean Doherty and Matt Warshaw are the surf journalists of the century. Like,
Can't argue with that.
I know who's who. Well, what can I do? I can be sad all I want, but I can't fight back.
Yeah, I mean, you should have been doing your work harder all these
I
years.
should have.
So that reminds me, speaking of celebrities, did you know Dick Van Dyke is actually a stage name?
No, what's his name?
Penis Fun Lesbian. Sorry, dude. Couldn't let that one go.
Real good. It's real good. Yep.
That's a real, I want to say dad joke. It's actually a kid's joke, probably more
Yeah.
than anything. High schooler's joke. So was this article actually, did you or Derek submit this as who are this century's best surf journalists to the artificial intelligence
I'm
Grok?
assuming it wasn't me. It might have been sent in from somebody too.
Okay.
I'm unaware. I did not post it. It was Derek put it up. So
Well, the author on the article is Grok, and it's written like one of those AI articles is, but it's actually thorough. And I thought it did a pretty good job, and it did well to identify the top two. So the ranking was, in fact, Matt Warshaw, Sean Doherty, Derek Riley, Ashton Goggins, Nick Carroll, and Steve Pesman.
I mean, Ashton must have, well, while I was crying myself to sleep, Ashton must have been jumping up and down on his little boy bed, so happy at being included in that illustrious list.
I know it surprised me because the fact that the AI is smart enough to include producers of visual content as a surf journalist, because I think he should be included in the list, but it's not as if his name is in the masthead somewhere,
Yeah, no, and it hasn't been for quite some time, right? I
Right.
mean, and it wasn't like he was a prolific uh journalist to begin with.
Right.
Like even
No,
when he was
exactly. It
writing,
was a
it's not like
short,
he, yeah, it was a
it was a
short
short
run and
career.
not very
Yeah.
much content.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what you should do because you may not make it to next century. Check last century. Put that same prompt in the AI and ask about the 1900s.
Yeah. Which surf journalists were number one?
I'm,
Maybe I'll kick up there.
I mean, were you active in those years?
In the 1900s,
The
you're
late
thinking
90s?
decades. You're not thinking centuries.
The
I was
late
not alive
90s.
in the 1900s.
Yeah, you were.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you think this is, oh, you think you're right. You think this is, they put in this century as in starting this century starting 2020,
It has to be. Otherwise, it would have
starting 2000.
included, otherwise, it would have been John Severson and Drew Campion. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. Okay, I'm going to prompt it. Thank you.
But were you working in the 90s yet?
No, I was not.
Hmm,
It won't
you're
help me,
screwed.
but it'll
All
be
right,
interesting
maybe.
to see who the 20th century best are.
Yeah. So it very much would be. I think I named two of them for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So maybe we go decade by decade if you want to get your name on a list.
I mean, I really have to, but the fact that it just didn't, that Ashton beat me out, that's all I need to know. Thanks,
Uh,
Grok.
well, big wave, or maybe I should say big-ish wave surfer Mark Zuckerberg professes ball-soaked love for bride, but is he professing too much? Have you heard the new T-Pain track or the Z-Pain track, Get Low?
I sure haven't.
Okay, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh my God. It's wild. Okay. Mark Zuckerberg posted on Instagram 2 or 3 days ago. He said, Get Low was playing when I first met Priscilla at a college party. So every year we listened to it on our dating anniversary. This year I worked with T-Pain on my own version of this lyrical masterpiece. Sound on for the track. It's also available on Spotify. Love you, P. Would you like to hear a little ditty?
Z Pain. Let's hear it.
Z Pain.
Get low, get low, get low. Get low, get low, get low. Get low, get low, get low. Get low. From the windows to the walls, till sweat drops down my balls, till all these bitches crawl. Oh, skeet, skeet, motherfucker. Oh, skeet, skeet, goddamn. Oh, skeet, skeet, motherfucker. Oh, skeet, skeet, goddamn. Shorty crunk, so fresh, so clean. Can she fuck? That question's been harassing me in the mind.
That is no joke.
Why does like Mark Zuckerberg is becoming more and more like Eric Logan? Like, what a weird thing to do. I mean, I can totally get you have all the money in the world. You want to impress your wife with, a funny thing. Why not just do it with T-Pain, do that and give it to your wife? Why, what would possess you to make that public?
Great question. So that's where my prompt was is he professing too much? It feels a little extreme. Did you see a month or two ago when he unveiled the statue to his wife?
No.
He was like, I don't know, did he block you on Instagram or something?
I don't, I mean, my Instagram is, maybe he did. My
Or
Instagram is
maybe
so shot through so many multiple times. I'm sure I'm like living in an Instagram jail that I'm not even aware of.
that's possible. So a few months ago, he posted like celebrating the Roman tradition or bringing back the Roman tradition of having a sculpture of your wife built. And it was this like, I don't know, 20-foot bronze sculpture in their backyard of his wife. Like it looked like what you would put on the front of a ship if you were like a pirate, and it's like a woman with her kind of wingspan out of his wife. And so I'm like, bro, like that also, it's a weird thing to do, but if you did it, you wouldn't post it on Instagram.
No, just keep it quiet.
That the public
Yeah.
professing feels it's a digital PDA that feels like he's covering up something else.
Doth the man profess too much? What is the actual line from Shakespeare? Protest too much. Something,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that's weird stuff. Like, I wonder though, also, uh, look at Elon, look at Zuck, look at Bezos. There have never been, I mean, I don't know that maybe looking back, the pharaohs or something were richer than these guys, right? But there's like these have to be some of the richest people that have ever been on Earth.
Yeah.
They're all lunatics. Like all of them are objectively crazy and getting crazier as they go. Like nobody's Elon Musk is like a rocket ship to absolute like autistic weirdness. Uh, Zuckerberg is doing this kind of stuff. Look at Bezos. Like, is money and all their money actually rotting their brains?
Power. It's more power than it is even the actual dollar amount ceased to matter 3 billion ago.
Yeah.
Because it's all just fake at that point, you know? And so it's a matter of how much power you can lord. I mean, I think it does become competitive between those guys, but I think it's a matter of how much power you can lord over the populace. And with nobody telling you no ever, you do a song with T-Pain and then put it out talking about the sweat dripping down your balls.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
it's really, it's like strange decisions though. I mean, like you saw that he moved his super yacht from, I said from San Francisco, but apparently it was in San Diego, from here to, or from West Coast to Tahiti. And he has a super yacht, and then he has the super yacht's traveling companion, which is like another huge ship that has helicopters and stuff on it. And I saw that and I was thinking, like, Mark Zuckerberg, I've seen pictures of you as a kid and stuff. You are not like the seafaring type. At what point, like, I mean, do the billionaires get together and say, you have to buy one? Sorry. Like, you literally, you have to buy one to be in the club. You just have to. You have to buy a super yacht. Mark Zuckerberg does not strike me as the kind of person who gets on his super yacht, but maybe with the sweat dripping down the walls, he is good to go on a super yacht. What a wacky man.
Did you say walls?
Yeah, I mean, the sweat's going to be dripping down the walls of the super yacht once he gets in there.
The other thing that I was thinking when I heard that was how robotic the voice sounded. It sounded like AI. I mean, think it's just auto-tune. But remember when he had to testify in front of Congress? And I think we talked about it on the show, and I was like, he looks like a robot.
He sounds like a robot.
And sounds like a robot. There's no emotion, you know? And now I'm wondering, like, how do these guys have this much time? Like Elon Musk, if he's as busy as he supposedly is to be doing all the entrepreneurial things that he's doing, how does he have time to hang out at Mar-a-Lago all week?
For a week. Like, all the reports were that he wouldn't leave, that he's always there just hanging out.
And I remember Jack Dorsey would go on sabbatical for 6 months in Africa, but Twitter was tanking. Like the value was tanking at the time as a result of an absentee CEO. I'm looking at Zuckerberg going, I think honestly, he's at Meta HQ 24/7. He has his AI out there for the public doing an actual song and dance at this point to entertain, to help, almost like, you know, an argument could be made, it's immoral to be a billionaire. And they have a bad rap, and you got the Koch brothers and all this stuff. And Elon's definitely not helping with the public perception. And then Zuckerberg's like, no, I'm going to design a robot that's going to go out there and protect my brand. It's my PR robot. And that's what we're seeing. We're actually seeing a fake version.
I love this theory because I can't imagine somebody, a real person, making a choice like that. I can't.
Right.
To sing that song, which is, you know, iconic in a way. So like that you would be possessed to do that for one, but then I will give it to you because like he and his wife may have 99.99% sure have a super nerdy relationship, right? They're both friggin' nerds. And so that's a nerdy thing to do, is make a recording and then give it to your wife. Making it public is what in the world? Like, so I like that AI robot, Mark Zuckerberg. It's the softer, kinder Mark Zuckerberg, where you think it's just kind of funny, even though he's back 24/7, nefariously stealing everyone's anything that he can get his hands on, information about all humans just in his pocket, just like, and just doesn't care what anybody thinks of him because he has every bit of your information.
It also makes sense. You got super nerdy guy that you're talking about. He doesn't want to go roll around on a mat and get his arm broken doing jujitsu. He also doesn't want to risk death by wiping out on a wave that he got towed into. But your robot, you could send your robot out into those environments and you know it's bulletproof.
It's perfect. And the robot, like, it'll be a great story. A big wipeout, robot will pop up eventually. People will think, wow, Mark Zuckerberg just held his breath for 12 minutes. What a guy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like it's Z Payne out there doing the hard yards, not Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
That song has 33,000 view or plays on Spotify, which is not nearly as many as I thought. I thought
Yeah,
him
33,000
doing
is nothing.
nothing. I thought him doing one Instagram post, it would bump it up to millions, but it hasn't.
I mean, join the club, Mark Zuckerberg, being shadow banned on Instagram.
The other thing, as it relates to T-Pain, I got a barrel or not. Wearing your baseball cap backwards, crooked, and in the placement of a yarmulke.
Is that what
wears his
T-Pain
hat.
was doing?
T-Pain wears his hat literally just like a yarmulke. It's a baseball cap, but it's on the cap of his head that would cover basically where you would start to bald in the back. Crooked, just like nested back there,
I haven't seen
protecting.
pictures of T-Pain in too long. Is it like a child-sized hat?
No,
It's like an
It's like a-
adult-sized baseball hat.
it would cover his entire cranium, except he just positions it on the back and crooked. So it's like it's shading half of his neck and half of his ear.
Let's see here. I'm gonna go barrel. I'm gonna go barrel. I feel we need some more signature in our life. Like we've lost. I mean, remember Criss Cross?
Yeah.
Backwards clothes, right? It was like, okay, that's their, obviously it's dumb, but that's their signature. And Criss Cross, and they come out, jump, jump, in their backwards clothes. We got, I mean, for a long time, Eminem and his bleach blonde, Stan haircut, like where it feels like in this day and age of the dying celebrity, or I guess the dying movie star, of celebrity being amorphous and crap, basically. Like you can be famous for 𝐂𝐤𝐿, you can be famous for Kardashian, you can be famous for being a talented musician, you could be famous for being a not talented, whatever. Fame as the marker, but give me T-Pain and his like iconic signature. This is my look. This is what I do.
And he wanted to wear a hat and he wanted to make it a signature, but he realized wearing it forward is not, everybody does that. Wearing it
Yes.
backwards, half the people do that. Wearing it on the crooks was a thing for a minute. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to kind of blend it all, find the one slight angle that nobody's done before. And that's his thing.
Boom. Harder and harder in this day and age.
All right. Well, on to Pros in the Wild, everybody's favorite segment. This one comes in and it says grit, comma. I took my very first surf trip / pilgrimage to the North Shore for my 40th birthday this last week. I'm actually writing this on the plane ride home. Having grown up surfing in San Diego, it's always been on the bucket list, but all of the stories, crowds, and quite honestly, the waves themselves had kept me away. Oh yeah, I finally read Chaz's book on the flight over, figured it was apt, so that too was in my head upon landing. The morning after our arrival, I let my wife sleep in while I paddled out at a well-known spot that was picking up the north/northeast swell. It was a chest to head high day. The first 5 minutes or so, I just kind of observed and got comfortable, found a comfortable spot to pick off some wide ones. That's when I look over my shoulder to see Barton Lynch paddling out with his son. We make eye contact and we exchange good mornings. As he sits up, touching distance from me, I remark that I could have never imagined that my very first session on the North Shore would be with him. He gave a huge smile, extended his hand, and asked where I was from. We had a brief chat, and he said, and then I asked him, any tips? To which he responded, just smile and be friendly. That's first base. And then it's a chess game of trying to position yourself, look for a little nugget that pops up. Not a minute later, still side by side, he calls out from my inside, here's one, with a head nod. I swing and paddle, easily get in, make the drop, and hear a hoot from behind. After at least 30 years of dreaming / fearing to come here, I was not only called into, but sharing my first wave on the North Shore with Barton Lynch. The wave ends, I kick out, as does he, and we share another fist bump as we head back to the lineup. I surfed for the next couple of hours, completely permagrinned. It's definitely a session or a session for the memory bank.
Nick, thank you so much for sharing. I can't hear too many good things about Barton Lynch. Love Barton Lynch. Fantastic story. Loved seeing Barton Lynch, surprisingly, in the Westerly Wendina film. The fact that Peter Druin coached Barton, which made me think, and that was when Peter, he was like a nutter always, right? Or not a nutter, but he was like always on the edge of pushing something new or different. And so the fact that Barton identified, I want that, made me think Barton must have always been uh, just a unique individual.
Well, I think so. That's all true. And it seemed to me specifically that Barton was hiring him knowing that it was the opposite of Barton's default state. Like Barton was maybe kind of mechanical in his surfing and calculated. And so I think he understood the judges know what to expect from me. I need to come in out of left field. And so he hires the flamboyant showman basically to dirty up his surfing.
Man, who could John Florence hire to dirty up his?
I think that was part of Ross Williams' effort was to help John, not through Ross's dirtiness, but help John figure out how to dirty it up. And I think they unlocked that with Margaret Rivers, the big turns that he was doing at Margaret River in 2018 or 19.
John should hire Donovan Frankenreiter and just incorporate big soul arches, a big bottom turn soul arch. Like that's all he's going to do this coming year. He's going to surprise everyone. Just drawn out arch back.
I think that would be a regression for John. I think he could go 𝐒𝐮𝐫𝐽𝑒, Bobby Martinez. Those would be my top picks for John.
How to like add some, yeah, because you can't surf better than John. Let's put that on the table. And this is no criticism of John. You reach a certain level and it's just too good. John is too good, but the judges get used to it. You got a surprise, thus 𝐒𝐮𝐫𝐽𝑒. I mean, imagine if he showed up with Clay, how shocked people would be if he's like, "Yeah, this is my coach."
I think so. Gabriel Medina might need more of this than John does.
For sure, John doesn't need it at all.
Except for the fact that John's coming off of another title, and you do need to kind of reinvent each time you come back.
Man, I wonder at this point, because John left it very open, the question open if he was going to retire or not after his title. I think it was, we'll see how I'm feeling, or, now what? We're over halfway ready for the new season, right? I mean, when did we end? We ended in September. We are now
so early February is when it starts.
Okay, so we're getting around there. I wonder how John is feeling right now. If he's thinking, looking at that schedule, looking at going to Abu Dhabi and all this stuff, don't need it. Frankly, won my titles. I'm good.
Honestly, I hope he's not thinking about it at all yet. I think the winter in Hawaii should be your ultimate focus every year, regardless of whether you're going for a world title or not. So let him enjoy that. That's also where he thrives. And then once that kind of settles down after the holidays, consider your options.
Okay. Wise.
Yeah, I like it. How do you think this does this Sports Illustrated inclusion of Caroline Marks for the second time around buoy her career or open up any new opportunities for her career-wise, do you think? What does it do for an athlete?
I guess, I mean, the fact that Sports Illustrated is still doing a swimsuit issue is quite frankly confounding. Not because for any other reason than it just seems like something that is past its pull date for multiple reasons, and not just that it's objectifying women, right? I mean, I think that used to be the point. Now, I would imagine that in the room, this would be considered empowering women, right? But I just can't imagine that how it sells. Like the ESPN did I don't know if they still do them, but when ESPN had their magazine, they would do the body issue, right? Which was all these athletes naked, Kelly Slater, naked, running, everybody naked, right? Where I can understand the, obviously the shock, but a kind of appeal in that, like, oh, these are real athletic bodies. How does this athletic body look? The swimsuit issue is not that. It's like trying to be sexy on people who I wouldn't put into the sexy basket out of the gate. I don't know, like, for example, Caroline Marks. Nothing against Caroline Marks. Nothing at all against the way she looks. But it's just sexiness doesn't seem to go with that brand. And yet it's something that she is actively trying to push always. This is her second time in the swimsuit issue. She does not provocative photo shoots, but she wants to be seen as sexy. Do you consider Caroline Marks sexy?
No, I don't, because I have a really hard time reconciling when people grow up and become adults. Like, I think of her as a 14-year-old ripper coming up on the scene. And at some point she became an adult, but in my mind, she's not. And so
Yep.
it's very conflicting. And you're right, though, she is pushing it not only by participating in the Sports Illustrated thing, but her Instagram will pop up and it's her glammed up going out
Yeah.
for a night on the town. And I'm like, why is she dressing like an adult woman? And then I realize, oh, it's because she's an adult
She's an
woman.
adult woman.
So it hits me weird. But my question, and so I understand, like, she has a public profile. She's embracing her womanhood. That's all great. I have no question
Totally.
about that. You know what I
Completely.
mean? But my question to you is, does that Sports Illustrated, does participating in that have any value at all at this point? Does it actually help buoy your profile, or would she gain just as much whatever by posting the post on Instagram about her going out that night?
I'm going to say that it does help with where she wants to go, right? She very clearly does enjoy this side of uh the public persona, let's say, right? The sexier, the more glamorous, the showy side, right? And so I would imagine that being in Sports Illustrated, then she will get, hair care partners or,
Right.
other like low level or not low level, but other like beauty product partners or whatever, who also are like, okay, cool. Like we see that you're a successful surfer who enjoys, you know, going out on the town and showcasing it. So partner with, L'Oreal or whatever. I could
Yeah.
see it opening those doors.
Yeah, I could see that too. I guess it validates you to the outside world that you're the top of the heap in your world.
And I think it very clearly feels good, or I don't know very clearly, but excuse me, it appears to she's enjoying this part of the journey. And so
Yeah.
more power to her enjoying that part of the journey.
Well, good for her. I'm glad that you brought up the body issue,
Yeah.
because that relates to another email that came through from a listener. And he said, quote, uh, we're both sad. This was in reference to something that we said last week. Sleeping with your surfboard.
Yes.
So then he says, quote, this reminded me about a funny moment I had with a musician friend. We're both saxophonists, and one time a group of friends were talking about the subject of whether we had played our instruments naked. My friend was a full barrel, and he said, what, you've never played your saxophone naked? You're really missing out. Of course, I tried it, but not sure what I was missing. Not bad, though. I managed not to clamp myself with any of the keys, at least. Musically, not a breakthrough moment, though. So, barrel or not, playing a musical instrument naked. I'm pretty sure that surfboard in the bed listeners might need to state whether they are naked in bed with their surfboards and partners or wearing some type of activewear. Love the pod. Laughed out loud several times this week.
Great question. 100% need to know. I don't know how we didn't. I mean, I guess as non-surfboard sleepers, it didn't even pop into my mind if you're fully nude in your delicates or in pajamas. So need to know there, yes. But also what was the other question you had?
Playing an instrument naked.
Is a barrel or not? I'm gonna say the first time I ever heard of this was Matthew McConaughey playing bongos naked. So I'm gonna say barrel.
Oh. It's interesting. Do you remember the Seinfeld episode or bit about there's certain things you should never do naked?
Yes. Was
It
was
was
playing a musical instrument one of them?
it wasn't. The ones I remember were something you would never want to do naked is like fix the chain on your bicycle.
Yeah.
Opening a pickle jar was another one. And I forget the exact storyline of the episode, but his girlfriend did something in front of him naked that was like
Yes.
unappealing. That's where this all came from, was the girl wearing the watch last week.
Yes.
And
Yes. Ooh, do we have any further
No,
clarification on that one?
no more clarification, but lots of people had comments basically saying, if a woman's willing to sleep with you,
What are you
doesn't
doing?
matter what she's wearing or
Yeah.
not wearing. You know what I mean? That's basically what the commentary was, that he was being ridiculous. Um, but it is a funny thing, the Seinfeld thing of like, not all things are great naked. Like naked,
Yeah,
you
it's true.
think naked is the pinnacle. But once you think, like if you actually had to go throughout your day naked, there's some things that are very unbecoming to do
Man,
naked.
there's a lot more things unbecoming whilst naked than not. Like we should be
Agreed.
thankful for our clothings.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. When it comes to instruments, there are ones that would be bongos, I suppose, are fine.
Yeah.
A harp I could see being very sexy naked.
What about a flute?
A flute is phallic, so there's that.
Trumpet,
the recorder.
I feel something where you're really blowing hard, you would risk maybe a hernia or something if you were naked. Like you could be put yourself in real danger of like blowing guts out.
Anything that requires that much strain, like playing the drums where you're like
Yeah.
flopping around, not great. You're
Violin?
right. Violin could be sexy, I suppose.
I think violin would be, if it was like not one of the big Vivaldi concertos or something where there's a lot of
Right.
action. It'd have to be a calm, quiet, like Mozart.
The other thing is the sound that the instrument emits, I think plays a role. Like a clarinet could never
Oh,
be sexy.
no, and there's too much there, like especially on a man playing a clarinet. There's just too much similarity there.
Yeah,
Like
you
it's
want
long and thin and long and thin.
it. The other thing that I'm thinking now is the harp incorporates into the player almost, like it fits somehow with the shape of the human. The clarinet, the trombone, it's too extended. It's not
Yeah.
covering up any of your body.
Yep.
So that
Are you
I think
picturing
that
are you picturing a man also playing a nude harp?
I'm trying to do both, and
Yeah.
I think both work with a harp.
Yeah, I think so too. I think harp might be the pinnacle. I think
Harp might be the pinnacle.
I could see though, and dear caller did bring up a point of depending on how, like, if what's the bigger saxophone called? You got your alto sax, which is I think up here,
Baritone,
baritone
or
sax.
bass.
You're probably getting down there where you actually could clamp in the key.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
danger.
It is dangerous. Remember, I don't know if I ever told you this, my theory on there's a perfect size guitar to get people to sleep with you.
Oh, I think we did mention, what was it though?
Well, it's the regular guitar, but like I think there was, because if you think about a ukulele,
Yeah.
like when you think about a dude playing, he's a rock star on stage, all the women love him, like the stereotype of the rock star, right? It is the regular size guitar.
Yes.
The ukulele is like, that doesn't
Clownish.
quite translate. But I feel like at some point down in Mexico, they were like, you know what would be even better? A big guitar. I'll get
Yeah.
even more women. And then you see that big guitar and you're like, that looks super clumsy too. So
Yeah.
it has to be a certain size, and that
That is
really
ex-
unlocks.
That is exactly true. The big guitar makes the guitar player look like a child. The ukulele also makes the guitar player look like a child.
Exactly. So you have to have the perfect size guitar if you really want to bed the women.
The problem with naked guitar though is it's not naked at all. It's faked is what it is, because your guitar would just be covering your bits.
Which is good. You want to leave a little to the imagination.
Great, but is that truly, even though you are naked, I'm going to say that's a different category of naked from the naked violin.
It kind of is. What
Like,
about
I don't know if it counts.
what about the great, now I can't think of the name. What's the thing that you play
The
like an
accordion.
accordion, right? Yeah.
Accordion. I'm going to say a woman playing an accordion, it doesn't really count also like the guitar. It counts more than the guitar on a man, because a guitar with a man, you're covering everything, right? Unless you're turning around backwards.
You can if you sit. If you're sitting playing the guitar, then everything's
Ooh.
covered. The accordion, you could pinch some bits though. Like
Yeah.
whether you're the female, you could pinch a nip. If you're the dude, you could pinch something. The
Yeah.
accordion's dangerous.
Accordion is maybe the most dangerous besides
I think-
timpani.
If the harp is the best for the naked people, I think I figured out the worst.
What?
Bagpipes.
Yeah,
You're
because there's a lot of
blowing
action too.
You're flapping like a chicken. You're blowing
flapping like a
super
chicken
hard.
and you're red-faced.
And the
That's
sound
true.
comes out after you blow into the thing. Like there's that delay. It's awkward.
Yeah, bagpipes would be a tough go. Bagpipes, and you like the amount of force. I mean, when you see a bagpipe player really blowing, like veins are popping out everywhere. So man, who knows where else veins would pop out? And we come back to the hernia issue.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
definitely I would
No
go a
pipes.
step even farther and say that no bagpipe player has ever been laid. If the guitar player is getting laid, the bagpipe player is the loneliest musician on the planet.
Except for I would grant you that a bagpipe player in street clothes. But once you kit it up with the kilt and the whatever that white fur purse thing they wear on the front is, and all that, all the bells and whistles in the bagpipe, and then you're like cool bagpipe beret or whatever they wear on their heads, it's like a compelling package, I would argue.
Now we're in fetish territory.
Sure, it is a fetish, but I would say there is probably a OnlyFans for bagpipe fetishism.
Yeah. I really feel like the women who go and see that bagpipe player in Scotland is like, she's just on vacation. She's attracted to the novelty of it.
It's true, but he's still bedding down, no problem.
All right. Well, glad we got to the bottom of naked instruments. Could be a new segment on the show, I suppose.
It's true. I mean, we have vast amount of territory to still cover.
As it relates to sleeping in the bed with your surfboard, following up from that, I had not considered whether or not the person was naked. And then I thought about it and I was like, okay, well, if you normally sleep naked, then you probably would just continue to do what you normally do.
Because it'd be weird if you put clothes on.
But it makes it extra weird if you're naked in there.
Well, I mean, we got to throw this one back out to listeners. Like, has anyone slept nude with their surfboard?
For those of you who came out of the woodwork and said you do sleep with your surfboard, are you wearing clothes?
Any clothes at all?
Or only reach out, only get a hold of me if you do it naked. I don't want to listen. I know that most of you probably do wear clothes. I want to hear from the people doing it naked because I really feel like this is a marker of something.
I 100% agree. Need to know.
I mean, and then are you like catching it in between your legs? Like, are you kind of like spooning
I was going
it?
to wonder. It feels like if you are doing it naked, that you are going to throw a leg.
Why wouldn't you?
You're naked.
I want to know what that fiberglass feels like.
Yeah. I mean, naked surfboard sleeper, please call.
All right. We'll be back. We're going to go to commercial, hear from some sponsors, and we'll be back with Barrel or Not. HelloFresh.com/freesurf. The holiday season is upon us, and I know I'm going to be spending tons of time in the kitchen cooking for family get-togethers, so I definitely want to keep our weeknight meals low stress and hassle-free. And this is where HelloFresh serves such a need in our home. They deliver farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients with seasonal recipes direct to our door. Very little chopping, very little prep. Just quickly assemble the recipes, and we're usually eating within 20 minutes. Also, with all of the overindulging I know I'm going to be doing these next couple of months, I'm switching my HelloFresh menu preference from classic meals to a calorie smart meal plan. And that interface on HelloFresh makes it super easy to adjust those menu preferences from week to week. And there's 50 different recipes each week. So there's always plenty of appealing options and variety to keep us happy. We cut back on our grocery shopping. We cut back on the waste. I save time, I save the anxiety of planning, and believe it or not, we save money with HelloFresh. That is why it's America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/freesurf to sign up. We'll get you 10 free meals applied across 7 boxes. That's for new subscribers only, and it varies by plan, but 10 free great meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/freesurf. It's America's #1 meal kit for a reason, and in fact, I've been using it since 2017. I'm a fan. Go to HelloFresh.com/freesurf. Chaz, welcome back.
What have you been eating down there in Florida thus far?
Dude, I'm so glad you asked. Check this out. I've got quite the display to show you. These are empanadas.
Yes. Where do those empanadas come from?
Argentina. So the breakfast spot we've been to you and I have been to before here, like the local spot, Wake Up Cafe, is owned by a husband and wife, and the husband's Argentine. And so they have a couple of menu items and they do empanadas and they're like
Uh,
known for it. And every time we've been there, I want breakfast. So I'm like, I love an empanada, but I just want breakfast today. So today I was like, I got to be locked in my room for the rest of the day working. I'm going to get empanadas to go and just eat them in the room.
Brilliant. Empanada is such a barrel. I've had bad empanadas before, but empanada with like the minced spicy meat in there, that's the breading is kind of like soaking up a bit with your potatoes and carrots. Oh, that's so good.
The meat, any meat pie, a meat pie just as a category is so underrated in America.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's my favorite part about Australia is meat pies. I'll eat meat pies for breakfast, lunch, and dinner in Australia. I'll eat it for snack and after snack. Like I love a savory meat pie that does not exist in America.
It exists in England as well. It exists in South America. There's lots of different places in the world that have embraced their own version of the meat pie. America is dropping the ball hard.
I don't know how, and I'll see them pop up from time to time, like the not kitschy, but the like Australian cafe that will advertise their
Right.
meat pies, and then I'll see them go right out of business. So, do Americans have no taste for the meat pie? Some unfortunate weird wrinkle.
They do. They've never developed the taste for the meat pie, which might be the downfall of our civilization.
Well, good riddance in
I
that
know.
case.
I don't want to live here if we don't
No,
have it.
no, I'm like all those celebrities who vowed to move. If America doesn't have the taste for the meat pie, I'm out.
Exactly. Um, big television event tonight. Will you be watching Tyson versus Jake Paul?
I'm going to be watching Water Brother with Sid Abruzzi. But if I was not doing that, then yes, I would fully. I still am not quite clear. It's just free on Netflix, right? I mean, it's not a
Netflix Live.
pay-per-view Netflix thing.
They're streaming it live on Netflix.
Yeah, obviously out of I mean, and gotta hand it to Jake Paul. Like he's a showman, he is delivering a show, and it's a show that you cannot reasonably look away from. If you're around Netflix tonight and you're thinking, nah, nobody's thinking that. Even if people are like, whatever you're thinking in terms of this is elder abuse to this is just straight weird showmanship junk to this is unserious, you're still watching.
I have no interest in boxing as a general rule, and I am so engaged in this fight. I have been waiting for it for months. I want to see Jake Paul. Okay, I shouldn't say publicly. I want to see him get killed in the ring. I want to see him just short of get killed in the ring. I want to see him get KO'd in definitive fashion.
Here's the thing. I mean, that's why I read the other day something about Jake Paul coming out and when he was first started boxing, I think. Um, and he realized that people like even though he was really boxing like legitimately, right? And I think there's question about some of his challengers, but definitely fighting MMA guys and ex boxers and stuff like they're especially as it went like, but realized that he was not being taken seriously. And so he said, fine, but don't take it. I'll be the heel. I get paid just as much or more to be the heel. I'm good at being the heel. I'll just be the heel. I love him for embracing the heel and being the heel. And I will say, if I was in Vegas, I read also that most bets are going for Tyson, like money's pouring in on Tyson, right? And it's all about this emotional remembering who Mike Tyson was, coupled with your desire of wanting to see Jake Paul flattened. I'd put all my money on Jake Paul.
Yeah.
There is no way, like that would be a bet that if I lost, I would say that I lost reasonably because a 27-year-old and a 57-year-old, no matter how powerful and dynamic, don't we all like it's I guess the human condition of wanting your heroes to always be heroic. Like Kelly Slater, even though there is vast decline in his competitive surfing ability, like he's not quick enough to link his turns anymore, basically, right? I mean, what he does 3 turns on a wave where other people can do 7 younger than him, right? Like just the reflexes aren't there. Not saying that he doesn't surf beautifully, but it's not the same it's not how you win a contest. watching Aaron Rodgers go with the Jets. If you're watching any football, Aaron Rodgers is just a shadow of himself. Where people still think though, nope, it's in there somewhere. It's going to come out. Where it's not going to come out because it's not in there anymore. It died.
Well, did you see they did their weigh-ins yesterday? Did you see Tyson slap him?
Read about it, and I was wondering here because all of this is a show, obviously, right? This is Netflix is hoping that this is going to be for sure the highest rated live thing they've ever done, and will be by far the highest ever live thing. Both Paul and Tyson are in for huge payouts. The better this show is, and the more provocative they can make it leading in, the more eyeballs they get, right?
Yeah.
And so you think, is the slap a show? I didn't see it. Did it feel
So
showy?
no, the slap, I bring it up in reference to you talking about everybody slowing down when they get older. The speed was what was impressive about the slap. It wasn't the most powerful slap, but Tyson's speed and then backing up and setting up for his next punch was like, holy cow, that guy is lethal, dude.
So you think he still got it? You would put your money on Michael Tyson?
I realize that my answer is totally influenced by the nostalgia and everything that you already talked about, my hatred for Jake Paul, but I still within that look at Tyson as a legitimate threat. And his level, like him being, let's say, at 50% of when he was at his prime, I feel like is still better than Jake Paul at his prime.
I mean, we will certainly find out, and that'll be fun. This was, I mean, I got again hand it to Jake Paul. Jake Paul created a phenomenal ticket that everyone, because those are the boxing matches that work, right? Like, it's the boxing matches that extend out into non-boxing fans, which I'm not a huge boxing fan, but I've bought pay-per-view shows before. They got me, right? Like it was the Golden Boy, whatever, Oscar de la Hoya versus the Puerto Rican guy or whatever. Like, like getting swept up in the hype and then actually buying the pay-per-view and sitting down and watching it. It's a great evening of entertainment. And this one, the fact that it's free, are you going to watch it?
No, because I'm going to be fully engaged in our surf film festival, but I will be checking updates.
Kevin and John and the boys at the Florida Surf Film Festival must have been bummed when they realized that after it got canceled the first time, that the Jake Paul Tyson fight would fall during the film festival. They should almost just screen it.
People are going to have their phone off to the side. Normally, you're in an event watching surfing off to the side. We're going to be in a surf event watching boxing off to the side.
Boxing off to the side is so true.
Yeah. I want to play for you one clip because this was my favorite thing that I saw on the internet this week. And this is a 13-year-old girl asking Mike Tyson about his legacy and what he wants his legacy to be. Super sweet 13-year-old girl, really articulate. I'm not going to play the previous questions, but she's great. She's a great interviewer. Have you seen this clip?
No.
Okay. Mike Tyson answering her question about what he wants his legacy to be.
So after such a successful career, what type of legacy would you like to leave behind when it's all said and done?
Well, I don't know. I don't believe in the word legacy. I just think that's another word for ego. Legacy doesn't mean nothing. That's just some word everybody grabbed onto. Someone said that word and everyone grabbed on the word, so now it's used every 5 seconds. It means absolutely nothing to me. I'm just passing through. I'm going to die, and it's going to be over. Who cares about legacy after that? What a big ego. So I'm going to die. I want people to think that I'm this, I'm great. No, we're nothing. We're just dead. We're dust. We're absolutely nothing. Our legacy is nothing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That is something that I have not heard before, someone say that as an answer.
Can you really imagine somebody say, I want my legacy to be this way when you're dead?
How's that?
I love it. What a straight up nihilist. He's just like pouring water all over that girl's. You might as well not try too very hard because who cares? Whatever you do anyway, it won't matter when you're dead. It doesn't really matter here.
So remember when you're like embracing T-Pain's hat? This is what I love about Tyson is it doesn't matter if you're a 13-year-old interviewer. I'm going to explain the existential quandary I'm having right now in my life. Like he is just Tyson no matter what. There's no like watching him trying to do the promos for Netflix. They played some of the outtakes. He couldn't say the word Netflix. So they had to do it over and over, and they never got a clean take of him saying the word Netflix.
That's
Mike
amazing.
Tyson is Mike Tyson, is Mike Tyson. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the interviewer. He's going to just be himself.
He's the Tom Curren of the boxing world.
He really is.
About the slap real quick, because I was thinking at first, okay, this is showmanship used to sell tickets, but then I thought maybe like probably also equally not, which this is when boxing gets great, I think, when you can't discern reality from or the fiction from the nonfiction, where I was thinking to beat Mike Tyson or to beat boxing at this level, you probably have to work yourself up into such a state that all of that is real, even though you know it is part of the show and all that also. Like, because how you've been training nonstop for, I don't know how long he's been training for, but you know, weeks at least. You're all like raged up with your testosterone and whatnot, where you're just gonna lash out.
I think that's why Tyson's kind of the definitive boxer is he fully understands that there's showmanship involved, but that's also fully 100% who he is. So none of it is ever just for show. It's all, he's got pent up rage that he can never work through in therapy, and it's going to come out.
Yeah, but then again, I'll give it to Paul because that is not Jake Paul, but Jake Paul does a really, really, really good job of bringing that out in others. And I feel making a platform for this to be entertaining.
Jake Paul is what to entertainment, quote unquote, what Mike Tyson is to boxing.
Yes.
Jake Paul, he is motivated by money, and entertainment is his medium, and that's all. He'll figure it out.
Man, but yeah, I'm looking for what time is it on? Do you know? It's gonna be late there.
So there's an undercard. I think there's 7 fights in total that begin streaming at 8 o'clock Eastern, so 5 o'clock West Coast.
Okay.
And they did not dictate a time for the main card because, of course, who knows what's going to happen with the undercard.
Yep.
All right, barrel or nah, number 1, coming off of our naked instrument conversation. Barrel or nah, reggae music.
0 barrel, no barrel. I hate reggae, and have we not talked about this?
I don't remember ever talking about this, but I somehow knew you hated reggae.
I loathe reggae. The family will like reggae. They will try to sneak it on, especially if we're on like vacation, tropical I will throw speakers into water if I can. Like, I loathe reggae. I loathe reggae. I'm not going to say worse than the Grateful Dead, but it's right near there.
So I know this is a controversial one. We're going to get a bunch of feedback on it of people who love reggae, but I want to caveat it all by saying reggae shot itself in the foot with Bob Marley being way too popular, like being the only thing, right? So when you say your family plays reggae, let me guess, was it Bob Marley that they played for you?
Yeah, I mean, chances are that's what's coming on, right?
Exactly.
Nobody in the family likes reggae enough to have a reggae group or act that they like that is anywhere. They'll put on either reggae Spotify, which will play Bob Marley, then Peter Tosh, and then just the standards. Yeah, I love it. I got to caveat this double a little bit though, because dance hall's not reggae, right?
No,
I love dance hall.
So if every kid that I went to high school with had gone to Jamaica or wherever and had like a natural exposure to a certain style of music and then came back and was like, man, I love this stuff. I got turned on to it and it reminds me of this experience. That'd be one thing. That was not what happened in the Southern California experience. It was just that everybody got Bob Marley's greatest hits and thought that was the end all be all. And then every time one of those songs came on, everybody started singing in unison. So it was, and I don't know, maybe that is the best version of reggae music. I don't know. All I know is it became this other thing entirely that, much like you with your Grateful Dead experience, you had to just push up against. That's how I felt about reggae my entire life too. And now it comes on and somebody acts like they're passionate about it. I'm like, you don't know the first thing about reggae.
Yeah, you know nothing. There's a reggae store down in San Diego that I pass from time to time. It just says like reggae shop or something on the outside. And of course it is red, green, yellow. Like it is every trope of reggae music, right? Or reggae lifestyle or whatever. Yeah. Like colorful turban or whatever thing, all of it. And I wonder if I was driving by and saw a rock and roll store, what the version of that would be? Would it be like, a guitar and a black leather jacket? And I mean, there's so many iterations of rock and roll, and I don't know that there's not also a bunch of iterations of reggae, but like it's all the same thing, I feel, to at least to the American normal palate.
So for anybody who wants to write us an email being like, you guys are so lame, like reggae is so good and so nuanced, you don't know anything. You're right, but you should be mad at everybody that we're talking about who embraced Bob Marley and force fed it down the mainstream's culture because they bastardized your thing. That's the exact reason why we're mad at people's, I don't know, the WSL doing what they're doing with surfing or whatever, or wave stormers. They're bastardizing the initial thing so that nobody can enjoy it.
And I feel like worse about, I mean, what I dislike about reggae is also everything adjacent to reggae, right? It's like when somebody turns reggae on, or if somebody's identifying with reggae, then you never see like, man, I'm just like a hardcore person. I like to kick the shit out of people all the time. And I go to the gym and I work out all the time and I listen to reggae.
Yeah,
No,
this is
like
my running track or my workout track.
the person who's listening to reggae is really trying to like force a artificial, I'm a laid back kind of person, or at least when they're putting on the reggae, now it's time to be laid back and chill, everybody. Let's just kind of sway around. Da, 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 da. Like, I don't like that. I don't like you being fake because of the music you're listening to.
Right. It's the anthem for like, I'm finally at the beach. Yeah, I'm finally at the beach. Don't worry about a thing. This is my playlist that I play when I go to the pool in Dominican Republic or whatever.
I don't worry about a thing. I'm just enjoying life.
Everything's going to be all right. No, we don't want the anthem. All right, good. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, I hate it.
Barrel or Not coming in from a listener. DLS and Chaz, on a semi-recent trip down to Baja, I pulled my rental into a local petrol station, and to my surprise, I was greeted by a lovely attendant who pumped my gas, cleaned my dusty windshield, put air in my tires, and happily accepted my credit card. Being from Oregon, I thought Chaz may be the right person to talk to. So I humbly asked, Barrel or Not, full service gas station. Cheers, don't work. Work is for suckers. Kitty King, Burlington, Vermont.
Thank you so much for this question. And it is a absolute barrel, but the only way it really works is if it's enforced by the state. I feel, or in Oregon, it wasn't, and I don't know what it is now, but it wasn't optional. You are not allowed to get out of your car and pump your gas. So not only is there a whole new batch of jobs that are pleasant jobs, right? I mean, sure, you're huffing gas fumes all day, but
which is great. I love that smell.
But much like the parking lot cart getter, or the grocery cart parking lot getter, gas station guy, you're like kind of moving around a little bit. You're inside, outside, you're meeting new people. Every exchange is, like a limited amount of time because it's however long it takes to fill up. Like I always enjoyed that experience. And then coming to California, pumping your own gas, sure, it's quicker, it's easier, it's all the stuff. But it just felt, it misses. Why did we just strip away, like another like a luxury? It was a small luxury for you to pull up to the service station and get your car serviced and off you go, ding ding. Where nope, we're about efficiency, we're about getting where we need to go. I don't like that. I like the luxury of full service.
I agree. I think it's Barrel. The only times I've had it done very few times in my life. I don't even know if it exists anymore in a gas station in Southern California where there is a full service lane that you could choose. Because that was a thing when I was young and we would never use it. But I have driven through Oregon where it's state mandated that it's full service. Every attendant I've ever interacted with was happy and jovial. Like a Trader Joe's employee, like they really enjoyed their job, which is an anomaly.
I feel that it's a combination of getting outside enough and probably huffing gas fumes, but you got a little bit of pep in your step when you're the gas station attendant. You're never like lifting heavy stuff. There's just enough physical to get a tiny bit of endorphins flowing. It's all good work.
I think because there's also a tip involved often. Or potentially. So it's almost like when you see a caddy, like a young kid who's like a caddy at the golf course. And he's like got a smile and he's trying hard and he's wiping down the clubs because he knows that this could help benefit his income at the end of the day. I think that had to do with the attendant thing. But then I was thinking about whenever I saw movies from like the 80s or 90s where people would pull up to a gas station and it was full serve, the attendant was always super nice, but the driver was always a dick to the attendant. He would like, hey, fill her up, or say something rude on his way in to go buy a pop, you know?
In these movies, though, often the person driving up either had a body in the trunk or was on their way to murder someone, or there was usually some nefariousness involved.
Yeah, but then they should be extra nice if you're trying to get away with a murder.
Back to the tipping thing, though. This is exactly where tipping works and is great, because if you like the person there is working extra hard, you know, and I appreciate that clean windshield. It is totally worth the, you know, $5 for you to take extra special care.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, good. I'm glad we're both in. Final barrel or not, parking in a handicap spot.
If you're a non-handicapped, it is definitely a no barrel. And I fluctuate on my levels of rage when it comes to this one. Sometimes I think you are the lowest of the low. You are scum, you able-bodied person parking in a handicap, because a handicapped person is going to come in. Where are they going to go? You jerk. But then I think at some point, what was it for? Oh, I was driving wife's grandma around, and she like had trouble walking, so I had a handicap placard, right? So threw that in the car, was driving her around. There's rarely ever handicap spots when you need them, I realize. Like, and not because they're being taken up by people without non-handicap parkers. Just there's way too many handicaps out there these days.
That's a great example, though, of I've had that scenario with my grandma. An extra 10 feet matters.
It totally matters. But
like she needs that front spot because it's hard to get into the front door.
But I feel that the handicap parking spot, they were built based on 1976 you know, records and all that, where there's not enough of them at all anymore. So it's just absurd to begin with. So I guess I don't get the ire now when I see somebody misusing it, because I just think if it's not you, it'd be another car. That car would deserve it. But there's like 15 other lined up behind that. There's just not enough, full stop. So you not doing it, it doesn't like I never do it and wouldn't recommend it, but also left the building.
I'm going full non-barrel. Do not park in a handicap spot. Even if you have a placard, if you are ambulatory.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Don't park in the spot. Leave it for the old woman that you and I were just talking about.
That's the person who parks in the handicap spot without a placard, risking a $550 ticket. I kind of like the moxie on that person.
My wife advised me to do it this week. We were just
park there.
We were pulling in somewhere. It was full lot except for the handicap spots, and we just needed to get in and get out. It was like picking up food or something. She's like, just park there. And I'm like, I looked at her. I was like, who did I marry? I'm not going to pull. The other thing is, there's going to be 100 people in this hour coming to pick up food. And so if we all just live by your rules where you do it temporarily, the spot will be full throughout the entire hour with people coming and going. No, we're not going to contribute to a society where we live by that rule, because then nobody wins, you know?
But again, I will go and state, if somebody's willing to lump a $560 ticket for a 10-minute run in, run out, you know, you got a lot of money and some mojo on you. It's the person who has grandma's pass without grandma in the car. That's the annoying one.
So I would like to live in the world you're talking about, but every person who parks there gets the ticket guaranteed. Because the problem is nobody ends up getting the ticket because you're in and out in 30 seconds. But I want a camera there stationed and an automatic ticket. And if you do have the moxie of picking up my food faster is worth $500, then by all means go for it and feed the system, because I need this pothole fixed, you know? But I also see it. We go get coffee in the morning, and it'll be the coffee runner, like the person who's running in to get coffee and running back out. They sometimes park in that front stall. And I look at them with ire because we're all here to get coffee really quickly.
Yeah.
Every single one of us. That's the point
Yep.
of getting coffee, is to try to get it as quickly as you can. Don't take that spot. You have to do what we all have to do. Walk 10 extra feet.
That's the truth. I mean, that right there, now you're building my ire right back up for any, especially the run in, run outer. Ooh, related to this, that's gotten my goat lately, is okay. You know, when you have like an oncoming lane, this is especially ire someone that's coming from the left. So if there's an on-ramp coming on to the left of the freeway, right? Not
Okay.
that common, but, and so you have some, whatever, like the merging time takes some time. Drives me crazy. People do it all the time these days. And I'm like, where they'll be sitting behind you, they'll jerk around into that lane to then go up 2 cars and then remerge, not only causing traffic, but you don't think we're all going the same. What got you, like, what special gift did you earn to be able to do that? What if we all did it? I mean, on to the, back to the handicap quick park.
Yeah, ruins the flow of traffic. You as the driver in front of them are responsible for keeping the gap closed. You're doing your job. So
Yes.
this isn't on you. They're just realizing they just want to fight the system, basically. And so, yeah, not cool.
Rude.
Totally
Rude
rude.
people. Wow, was
I know,
that
I
3
could
no
do-
barrels?
No barrel reggae, no barrel. No, we did yes barrel on full service gas station.
Oh yeah, good. Whew.
Yeah,
Didn't want to have it be too negative a day.
exactly. All right. Well, celebrity show officially, surfing and celebrity officially merge in today's show. So there we have it. I don't know what next week will hold, but we'll find out.
Hopefully more Z-Pain.
Hopefully more Z-Pain. And
What a dumb shit. What an absolute dumb shit Mark Zuckerberg is.
that
He's
song
just a
is
dumb shit.
unbelievable, dude.
Like, he's just a fool. Imagine, I mean, that's the thing. You can have all the money in the world and people would say, oh, he doesn't care, but he does. Mark Zuckerberg goes to bed at night knowing he's a fool.
I know. I'm going to go to bed tonight with a belly full of empanadas. Greatest day of my life. All right, man. Well, have fun in California. I'll see you on Monday for Noble Rot.
Great. Looking forward.
Any listeners still listening to Noble Rot on this feed, go get it on its own feed now. Search Noble Rot in Spotify or Apple. It'll pop up. Subscribe there. We're not going to continue publishing it on the Grits podcast feed, so you have to go there to get it.
Please go subscribe and make a comment if your heart compels you, as that's the way the algorithm prizes these things. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Helps
Please.
strangers to find it that way.
Thank you.
All right. Until next week.
It worked.